The Appalachian Mountains do not look like they can kill you. That is exactly how they do it. On a warm afternoon in June, a woman stepped off a crowded trail in the Great Smoky Mountains to get a better look at a waterfall. There were hundreds of people on that mountain that day. She was maybe a 2-minute walk from the path, and she was gone. Not taken by anything with a name out of a campfire story. Just gone, swallowed by green, close enough to the trail that searchers walked past her more than once and never saw her. People vanish in these mountains in a way they do not vanish in mine, and I have spent a lot of years wondering why. I ran search and rescue in the Rockies for 30 years, big mean mountains that show you their teeth, snow, cliffs, thin air, country that looks dangerous so people respect it. The Appalachians are the opposite. Soft, rounded, green, gentle-looking hills that folks call the easy mountains, the safe ones, and that calm reputation is the most dangerous thing about them. So today I am giving you 7 reasons these deceptively gentle mountains are more dangerous than the ones that scare you, counting down to number 1, the single reason people walk into them and are never found. Stay with me for that one because it is the reason a person can die within shouting distance of a road. Now you have seen the videos, the internet is full of them, skinwalkers and cannibal hill folk and things with glowing eyes stalking the Appalachian Trail, and I will be honest with you the one time and then leave it be. That is nonsense and worse than nonsense because it disrespects the real people who live in those hills and the real people who have died in them. The truth is scarier than any monster because the truth can actually get you. There is nothing supernatural about these mountains. There is just terrain and weather and water and the plain fact that we have stopped taking them seriously. And there is one more thing worth knowing because it made these mountains meaner than nature ever did. 100 years ago, the timber and mining companies came through and scalped these hills, cut down the giant old forests, blasted the tops off for coal, and left behind bare, eroded, unstable ground that slides and floods to this day. Nobody planned to make the mountains more dangerous. It was not a conspiracy. It was just money, just men taking what they could and moving on. But the country they left behind is harder and hungrier than the one they found, and it is the country you are walking into now. My name is Bill, and for 30 years I was a backcountry ranger in the Rockies running search and rescue, and I have learned to fear the mountains that look harmless more than the ones that look deadly. I am not selling you anything. I just want you to walk back out of these hills. Now, before we count them down, one quick thing. Only a small number of the people who watch this channel are actually subscribed. If you love wild country and the real honest truth about staying alive in it, even half as much as I do, then do consider subscribing. It is free and you can change your mind later. It genuinely helps an old ranger keep making these. All right, let us get into it, starting at number 7 and working down to the reason that swallows people whole. Number 7, they are deceptively small, and that is exactly what fools people into dying. Out west, the Rockies and the Cascades stand up tall and jagged and snow-capped, and a person takes one look and packs like their life depends on it, because it does. The Appalachians do not do that. They top out at a fraction of the height, worn down soft over hundreds of millions of years into gentle green ridges, some of the oldest mountains on the whole earth. Folks look at that and think, well, these are the little mountains, the beginner mountains. I do not need much. So they come in with one bottle of water, a phone, and a pair of sneakers, dressed for a stroll in the park. And the mountain lets them believe it, right up until it does not. But those gentle-looking trails climb and drop thousands of feet in a single day, more up and down than a lot of the tall western routes. And your legs learn the truth about these hills right about the time it is too late to turn back. Height is not what kills you out there. What kills you is being unprepared, and nothing makes a person unprepared faster than a mountain that looks like it is not even trying. So here is your first job, and it is really a change of mind. Pack for the Appalachians exactly the way you would pack for a serious peak out west. Boots, layers, water, a map, a way to make fire. Because underneath all that soft green, that is what they are. I have watched strong, fit people come off these hills, gray in the face and shaking, undone not by one big danger, but by hour after hour of steep climbing they were never warned about. On a mountain everybody told them was easy. That kind of exhaustion is its own emergency because a worn-out body makes worn-out decisions, misses the turn, skips the layer, pushes on past the point where it should have stopped for the night. The mountain did not have to do anything dramatic. It just let a person spend everything they had and kept the trail climbing. Whatever you do, do not let a mountain's gentle looks talk you out of respecting it. Number 6, the terrain is deceptively brutal. From a distance, these mountains look like soft green waves, easy walking. Up close, they are steep, root-choked, rock-strewn, and covered in some of the thickest brush in North America. There are stretches of rhododendron and mountain laurel so dense the old-timers gave them a name, the Laurel Hells, where you cannot see 10 feet, cannot walk in a straight line, and cannot get out the way you came. Here is a number that ought to stop you cold. The Appalachian Trail is about 450 miles shorter than the Pacific Crest Trail out west, and yet it takes most people longer to finish, longer over a shorter distance. That is the terrain telling on itself. Every mile is steeper, slicker, and more tangled than it looks on the map, and it grinds a body down and hides the trail behind you until you are turned around without ever feeling lost. When you hike this country, slow down, cut your daily mileage in half from whatever you would plan out west, and watch your footing on every single step, because a twisted ankle 3 miles into that green maze is not an inconvenience, it is a genuine emergency. And that same thick brush that hides the trail hides the ground under your feet, the loose rock, the old rotten logging cuts, the holes a boot drops into without any warning. So the walking itself is a slow grind of small hazards, mile after mile. Search teams feel it worst of all. When somebody goes missing in this country, the people looking for them have to crawl through the same laurel hells at the same brutal pace, which is why a search here can take a week to cover ground you could glass in an afternoon out west. The terrain does not just trap the lost, it holds off the rescue. Whatever you do, do not judge these mountains by the map. The map does not show the tangle, and the tangle is the whole story. Number 5, the weather turns vicious and it turns fast. People think of these as mild southern hills, but the Appalachians hold some of the worst weather on the planet. Up on Mount Washington in New Hampshire, the observatory once clocked a wind of 231 miles an hour back in 1934, for decades the highest wind speed ever recorded by a person anywhere on Earth. That mountain sees wind chills far below zero, whiteouts in the middle of summer, and it has killed more than 150 people. Climbers use it to train for Denali and even Everest, and it stands a fraction of their height. That is the extreme end of it, but the lesson runs the whole range. A warm, clear morning in these mountains can turn into cold, driving rain and fog by the afternoon. And cold rain is a killer even in July, because a wet body sheds heat fast and hypothermia does not care what the calendar says. Before you set out, check the mountain forecast, not the town forecast down in the valley, and carry a rain shell and a warm layer even on the prettiest day. These mountains make their own weather and wear it like a cloak. The Smokies got their name from the thick fog that pours over the ridges, and that same fog can drop your visibility to a few feet in minutes and steal every landmark you had. Remember, too, that the air cools as you climb, so a summit can run 20 or 30 degrees colder than the trailhead where you parked in your shirt sleeves, and the wind up on the open balds has nothing to break it. I have seen a bluebird morning become sleet by noon on ground that people packed for like a picnic. The weather here is not a backdrop. It is one of the main ways these mountains kill. Whatever you do, do not trust a friendly morning in these hills. The sky out there can change its mind in under an hour, and it does not send a warning. Number 4, the forest is a maze, and it all looks the same. In the western mountains, you can almost always find a landmark, a peak, a valley, the sun overhead, something to steer by. Under the Appalachian canopy, you get none of that. The trees close over your head, the ridges all look alike, the light comes down flat and gray and green, and there is no far horizon to fix your eye on. People who are not even trying to leave the trail drift off it a few steps at a time, following what looks like a path but is really just a gap in the brush, and within minutes they cannot tell you which way they came. It happens faster and with less warning than you would ever believe. This is exactly why so many of the missing were last seen right on a busy trail in daylight with people all around. So carry a real map and a real compass and actually know how to use them, and every few minutes turn around and study where you came from, because the way back looks like a completely different world from the way in. And here is the cruel part of it. The more sure you are of your own sense of direction, the more likely you are to keep walking on it instead of stopping to check. and every confident step in the wrong direction carries you deeper into country that all looks exactly the same. I have talked to grown men, experienced hikers, who could not believe how completely and how fast they came undone once they lost the trail in daylight, feeling fine, sure they knew the way. That canopy does not just hide you from the sky, it erases the map in your own head, one wrong step at a time. Whatever you do, do not lean on your sense of direction under that canopy. It will fail you, and it will fail you fast. Number three, the water. The southern Appalachians are one of the wettest places in this whole country, some spots getting over 90 inches of rain a year, enough to grow a temperate rainforest full of plants and creatures that live nowhere else on earth. All that water is beautiful, and all that water is out to hurt you. It makes the rocks slick as grease, and more people are hurt in these mountains by a plain slip on wet stone near a waterfall than by anything with claws or teeth. It swells the creeks you have to cross into brown, roaring things in a matter of hours, and it comes down in flash floods that tear through the narrow valleys, the very valleys where the trails and the campsites sit, with almost no warning at all. A storm you cannot even see, miles up the ridge, can send a wall of water down a calm-looking creek and take a whole camp with it in the night. So respect every water crossing. Never make your bed down in a low creek bottom and treat wet rock above a drop like the deadly thing it is. Cross a creek that is knee-deep and gentle on the way in, and after one afternoon storm up high, you may come back to find it chest-deep, brown, and strong enough to sweep your legs out from under you. People drown in creeks they had walked across without a second thought that same morning, and the wet does its slower work too, soaking you through, pulling the heat out of you, setting up the hypothermia that finishes so many who are never touched by a flood at all. In these mountains, the water does not need to drown you to kill you. It just has to get you wet and let the cold do the rest. Whatever you do, do not scramble out onto slick rock over moving water for a better photograph. That one picture has killed more hikers in these hills than every predator in the folklore put together. Number two, the legends themselves are dangerous because they point you straight at the wrong threat. When people stuff their heads full of monsters and secret government programs, they stop watching for the things that actually get you. Nobody who died in these mountains was taken by a skinwalker. They ran out of daylight and could not get a fire going. They got wet and cold and stopped thinking straight. They twisted a knee 2 ridges from the road and could not walk out. They drank bad water, or they left a trail chasing a shortcut that was not there. Every single one of those is preventable, and every single one is boring, and boring is exactly why people ignore it in favor of a good scary story. The mountain does not need a monster. It has got cold and wet and steep and dark, and those four are patient, and they are real. So put the campfire tales down and put your attention on the dull, deadly basics instead: water, warmth, fire, footing, and a way to be found. The folks who actually live in these mountains are some of the toughest, most capable people you will ever meet, and they will tell you the very same thing I am, that the danger here is not some creature in the dark. It is the weather, the water, and the person who walked in unprepared and overconfident. Chase the monster, and you will miss the real thing coming. It almost always arrives as a chain of small, dull mistakes: a late start, a wrong turn, a soaked jacket, a dead phone, each one survivable on its own, deadly when they stack together. That chain is what actually hunts people in the Appalachians, and it does its work in broad daylight. Whatever you do, do not let a ghost story pull your eyes off the plain, ordinary things that are truly trying to kill you out there. And that brings us to number one, the single deadliest thing about these mountains, the reason people walk into them and are simply never found. It is that green canopy overhead, the very thing that makes them so beautiful. In the western mountains, if you go down out in the open, a helicopter or a plane can spot a person from the air, and a searcher up on a ridge can glass miles of country through binoculars. In the Appalachians, almost none of that works. That thick roof of leaves hides the ground completely. A search plane can fly directly over a lost person 100 times and see nothing but treetops. Crews on foot have to fight through the same steep, tangled brush that swallowed the missing person to begin with, covering ground so slowly that a body can lie a few hundred yards off a trail for weeks, for years, sometimes forever, while hundreds of people walk right past. Even the heat-sensing cameras the rescue teams fly struggle to see down through a living summer canopy. So do not count on a machine to find you either. The trees give up nothing they have swallowed. Go back to that woman in the Smokies 2 minutes off a crowded path, close enough that searchers walk by her more than once. That is the whole horror of these mountains. You do not have to go far to be lost forever out here. You just have to step in under the trees. So here is the one thing that beats it, and it is simple. Make yourself findable before you are ever lost. Tell one person exactly where you are going and when you will be back. Carry something bright and a whistle, $3, that carries where your voice cannot. And the second you feel turned around, stop, stay put, and get to the most open ground you can reach. A rock slide, a clearing, a bare ridge line, anywhere the sky can see you. Because under that canopy, a moving person is invisible, and a still person out on open ground is a life we can save. Now let me pull back, because here is what all seven of these really come down to. The most dangerous mountain is not the tallest one, it is the one you underestimate. The Rockies frighten people into being careful, and so, in a strange way, they are the kinder range. The Appalachians smile at you, and people die smiling back at them. That is a lesson far bigger than one stretch of hills. The things most likely to hurt you in this life are rarely the ones wearing a warning label. They are the gentle-looking ones, the easy ones, the ones everybody swears are no big deal. Respect is not the same thing as fear. Respect is what lets you walk into hard country and walk back out of it again and again and come to love it the way I do. These old green mountains are some of the most beautiful and alive places left on this whole continent, full of things that grow nowhere else on earth, worth every hard mile it takes to see them. You just have to go in clear-eyed, carrying a little of the old respect that keeps a person alive, and understanding that the softest looking country can hold the very hardest lessons. I have carried people out of both ranges, the ones that scare you and the ones that charm you, and I will tell you plainly, the ones who get into the worst trouble are almost never the ones who were afraid. They are the ones who were sure it would be easy. Fear, the right amount of it, is just respect with its boots on, and respect is what walks you home. Learn that, and these mountains will give you a lifetime of days. Forget it, and they will take you, and they will not even look like they meant to. Before you go, do me a favor and drop a comment below and tell me just two things. Tell me the most deceptively dangerous place you have ever been, the one that fooled you, and tell me whether you have hiked the Appalachians and what surprised you out there. I read as many as I can, and the near misses folks teach me something every single time. Thank you for spending this time with me, and look after yourselves and go into every gentle looking place with your eyes wide open. And do subscribe, because next time I am showing you 7 survival traps and snares that actually work, the kind that can feed you when everything else has failed. And the very first one can catch your supper while you sleep with nothing but a length of wire. Learn it now so I never have to come looking for you.